What is the opposite to addiction? The opposite to addiction is connection. And what is addiction? So addiction is the conditioned response to a stimulus. I watched a documentary years ago which kind of really changed my mind on what addiction actually was. And it was about the CIA, and they infiltrated a drugs ring from the top to the bottom. So from the kingpin to the guy selling $10 bags on the street of heroin. And they had all these guys working as moles all the way through the whole ring. And they collected samples. And in that, some of the drugs were purer than others. What they found was at the very bottom, sometimes there was no heroin in the heroin. It was cut so bad. But yet the addicts that bought it would still get high. And they asked themselves, well, how did they get high? It's because they have a conditioned response to a stimulus. They first of all go out, meet their dealer, buy the heroin. Then they get a spoon, then they heat it, then they melt it. Then they put it into a syringe, into a needle, into a vein. And in that, the conditioned response is high. And then connection. Connection is generally with humans, a human connection that fills the void of addiction. And if you look at life now, we've all started to turn into little addicts. Social media is probably the singular most addicted behavior on the planet. If you look around you now, where you are now, where you're standing now, go into a restaurant, go into a cafe, sitting on the bus, everyone's glued to their phone and they're looking for that stimulus, and they're scrolling and they're scrolling and they're scrolling and they're scrolling and they're looking and they're looking, and they get a little hit and they're scrolling and they're scrolling, and everything is just to get you back onto that thing. If you recognize what is actually going on, if you were fortunate to be born before social media, which is say 15, 16 years ago, if you were even more fortunate to be born and grew up before the internet, you'll remember what it was like, or do you remember what it was like not to have a phone, where you actually just went out and knocked on someone's door, or they had a landline that was in the hallway that you had to call, and how we still met each other, we still did things, we still all the other stuff. And we were sold this thing of the internet, social media will make us more connected. Facebook will have us all connected, but we've become more disconnected from the addiction that we all suffer from. We all have these addiction qualities because we're trying to get connection. And one is the opposite of the other. And if you don't have connection, you're going to end up with addiction, whether it's heroin, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, or any of that other shit that people are just scrolling on. So I've taken social media off my phone completely. I have it on the burner phone, an old phone, and every now and then I check for messages. And I find now I less and less scroll. I put it on my phone a couple of weeks ago, went to Bosnia, and Neil was in a boxing match, and I kind of brought it with me just to kind of keep up to the minute with what was going on. And then when I got back, I found straight away, picked up my phone, scrolling, picked up my phone, scrolling, so I deleted it straight away. Give yourself, either pull the plaster off hard or pull it off gently. Either way, just pull it off. Either just get rid of it off your phone. Do you actually need it? You don't. There's so many other things you could do better. Or do less on it. And ask yourself, like, how much benefit is there to me in it? And how much addiction qualities am I getting in it? Am I getting better as a person? Am I improving? And once you start to clear away the addictions and replace them with connections, I think life will be a lot better for you. So replace addictions, not with other addictions, because some people say they replace one addiction for another addiction. So if someone that's an alcoholic or a drug user, they start to get into ultra distance races or yoga, or they just replace it with something else. Why not just replace it with love? Why not just replace it with a connection? And look for connections rather than other addictions.
Let's sing together again.